So it's August 2019 and you're thinking, well, you know, what's going to be the best YouTube camera for me to get if I'm just starting off a channel, or I've been doing this for a while and I want to get something that's a little bit better, autofocus and everything. Today we're going to look at the Canon EOS M50, and that's coming right up. Now I do want to preface this. I am a Panasonic fan. I do like my Lumix G7, which I'm shooting on right now, but I've had a lot of Canon cameras before. I've got the Canon, the old PowerShot SX20. That was my first Canon camera ever, and it was a decent camera. You gotta remember, this is back in the day, years and years and years ago. But then I upgraded to the Canon T5i, which at the time was a great camera, and I shot a lot of documentaries with this camera right here, and it was good for what it was back in the day. I like the Lumix G7. I think it's got a lot of strong points. Its weak point is going to be its autofocus, but I wanted to step it up a little bit. Now, the Canon M50 has been around for a long time. It got released back in February of 2018, but does that mean that it's not good in 2019? Let's delve into it a little bit. Now, this camera boasts a lot of great things, and one of them is going to be that dual pixel autofocus, which is just, in my opinion, is fantastic when you're talking about a mirrorless camera that's got autofocus that is just right on the money. And that's what I'm shooting with right now, and I'm using a little lav mic, wireless lav mic, little Pixel, but got that attached to the Canon M50. But now granted that, you know, the Canon EOS M50 got released back in February of 2018. So it's a year and a half old already. And I know I'm just not getting around to it. It has a lot of strong points, and it really caught my interest, but I was like, you know, because at first it was $899, well, basically $900, $899.99. And now it's gotten into a point to where it's really affordable, and the camera that I usually use is going to be the Lumix G7, but its autofocus, I mean, let's just be realistic, it sucks. But I'll talk about the autofocus in another video with the Panasonic Lumix G7. By the way, whenever I use the G7 and I'm doing B-roll shots, I use a nice little 25mm Olympus lens on mine and shoot it in manual focus. But let's talk about some of the key features of the M50 by Canon. It boasts a 24.1 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It has a native ISO range from 100 to 25,600. Now, it's also the first Canon camera that used a new Digic 8 image processor. It can shoot up to 10 frames per second of continuous shooting when you're doing photos. It has an improved dual pixel CMOS autofocus system, a 3-inch variable angle touchscreen on the back, a 0.39-inch OLED electronic viewfinder, which is very nice. 4K, ultra high definition video recording. We'll talk about 4K here in just a second. Now, one of the great things, I like about the M50 is it's got the face tracking. So right now, if I look at the little side screen, there is a little box right around my face. So as I move, it is tracking me. Another nice feature is if you touch on the back of the screen of an area that you want to keep in focus that may be moving around, let's say if you're shooting and you're behind the camera and you touch the screen, you can always keep that subject in focus no matter how they're moving or no matter how you're moving with the camera, which is also a very nice feature. But I want to see how its video quality really looks, and so far I've been very impressed with it. I'm impressed with the focusing of it. I'm impressed with the 1080p, whether it's 30 or at 60 frames per second. Now, it's 4K. Let's just be honest, it has a massive crop. It has a 2.6 times crop on 4K, and it shoots at 24 frames per second. Not that that's a bad thing. 24 frames a second is the industry standard when it comes to cinematic shooting. So if you're going to shoot a documentary, if you're shooting a short film, a feature-length film, 24 frames a second is the industry standard. But with saying that, you also have to remember that when you go into 4K, it crops in the image. So what you see right now of how much is in view, it gets narrowed down to this, which is tremendous crop factor, and I don't mean tremendous like great, I mean tremendous like you're gonna have to really either back up or change lenses or do something, because right now I'm using the kit lens with this one, and it's at its widest point at 15 millimeters, and it works just fine. It's arm length away from me right now, and still got, from what I can see on the screen, still got a good wide range of what you can see on both sides of me. I like the little subscribe pillows back there, so be sure, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Now, there's a couple quirks about the M50 that you have to kind of keep in mind. Face tracking is great when you're videoing yourself like this right here, and you're doing a vlog style. If you're gonna do product stuff, you may wanna get off the autofocus and go to center point or 1-point focus, because when you do like this, it takes the camera a bit to focus, because right now on the screen, it's looking for my face. It can't find my face. It thinks my face is still up here somewhere. And then back to me. See how long that took? But it's spot on though. I mean, it does not hunt. Once it locks onto your face, it is spot on. I like the fact that it has a 3.5 millimeter external audio source input, because that's very big, because that was one of the big things about the Lumix G7 that turned me onto it, is that it accepted external audio. And I like the fact that the Canon M50 also accepts external audio, but it was the autofocus. I want to see what image quality really is like with this camera. Now, the camera does have image stabilization. It's in-body stabilization. Now, the sensor does not move. It's electronic in-body stabilization, but it also offers stabilization, digital stabilization, which is either on or enabled or enhanced. So far from my testing, the on or the enabled and enhanced is just not really worth it. This is a camera that if you're going to vlog with it, you're going to have it on a little selfie stick or a little mini tripod. The best thing is, obviously, is going to be to use this camera with a gimbal. But before we get into all of that mess, I just want to just talk about the video quality that you can get out of the Canon EOS M50. So let's look at some footage, see what it looks like outside, just walking around, and you'll see it is, and now this is just me just holding the camera in my hand, but let's take a look at some of the video right now. All right, shooting with the Canon M50, 1080p, 30 frames per second, and I'm using the internal microphones right now just to see how the audio sounds. So we'll do a quick little audio test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now with an external microphone with a little dead cat on it, just to see how the audio sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the Canon M50, dual pixel autofocus. Does it keep my face in focus? From what I can see on the screen, it's got a nice little box around my face, so it should be keeping me pretty good in focus. I also like the fact that if you are behind the camera and you're videoing, you can just tap the screen to the areas that you would like for the camera to focus on, and it will focus on that area and it will lock onto that area. So no matter what you do, it'll always stay in focus, and I'll kind of show you that now. So right now I'm shooting with the Canon EOS M50, using it on a gimbal. I'm not going to talk about the gimbal yet because that's a future review, but my wife said that there was some watermelons growing, and sure enough, there's a watermelon growing. It's supposed to be an Israeli watermelon. Get out of the sun here. So that's what an Israeli watermelon looks like. Pretty day. It's kind of a little bit cloudy because we had some rainstorms and then they went away, and then we got some other surprises. Welcome to Texas. So I'm kind of curious to see, how does this do outside? Bright light is really bright right now, just to see how the M50 does. So tell me in the comment section below, what do you think about the Canon EOS M50? What do you think about the image quality? Did you like it? Personally, I like it. I think this is the perfect little niche camera with its swing out rear screen. I love the fact that its kit lens that comes with it, a 15mm, is still wide enough to where you can actually vlog with this. Like I said, I am arm length out, and I'm framed nicely within the frame here, where I've still got some width of the background. I love the dual pixel autofocus on this camera. The internal microphones are not bad, I mean, considering what you just heard, but when I stuck that little shotgun mic up on top, bingo, I mean, that's money right there. I had to turn down the gain a little bit inside the camera because it does like to run hot if you're running an external audio. But anyway, those quick first look at the Canon EOS M50. I like this camera. I think it's got a ton of potential. I'm going to do some more videos of the M50. I'm going to compare it to the Lumix G7 side by side to see how it performs daylight, mid-light, and also low light tests with it, just to see how they both compare, and we'll kind of go from there. But hey, by the way, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing today. Hit that little notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a video. And until the next video, I hope you guys have yourself a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.